Okay, hello everyone. Yeah, so today I would like to introduce the internal analysis. So do you remember when we want to choose the strategy or develop strategy, we have to do the external analysis and the internal analysis, right? So last the chapters we have talked about the external analysis. So today we want to talk about the internal analysis, resources, and competitive advantage. Okay, so the objective of the chapters is, okay, first, we will discuss the sources of the competitive advantage. And the second, we will introduce the VRIO framework. Okay, this framework can help us to assess the quality of the resources. And the third, we want to expand the concept of the value chain. And finally, we will introduce the 4 factors that help firms to build blocks of the competitive advantage. Okay? So let me think why. Within the given industries, some companies do better than others. Okay, so here we can think that, okay, for example, like in the smartphone industries, we can think about why the Apple do better than others firms in the smartphone industries. Okay, so maybe this is because the Apple have the excellence in their product design, or they have the excellence in their customer service. Of course, some firms do better than other firms. This is because they are efficient in the way a firm manages its operations, or they have excellence in their product quality, right? So, for example, like the Lagan, it's very famous the Taiwanese firms. Okay, we call it in Chinese call it 大立光. So we can say that why many smartphones, in smartphones the companies, okay, they are the camera lens they use. They use the camera lens made by Lagan. This is because the Lagan they have the excellence in their technology, right? Yeah, so they can produce the higher the quality of the camera lens. So this is why they can do better than other firms. Okay. And for the internal analysis, okay, we have the 3 steps. First, the managers have to understand the role of the real, valuable, and hard to imitate resources in the establishment of the competitive advantage. Okay, and the second, the managers have to appreciate how such resources, okay, the resources means real valuable and hard to imitate resources. How such resources lead to the superior efficiency, innovation, quality, and customer responsiveness. And finally, the managers have to analyze the source of their company's competitive advantage to identify what drives the probabilities of their enterprise and where opportunity for improvement might lie. Okay, so this is the 3-step process for the internal analysis. So what are the sources of the competitive advantage? Okay, so from the list figure, we can see that. First, the resources in terms of the basic factor of production, advanced factor of production. This can help firms to build their distinctive competence and then lead to the competitive advantage. And finally, result in a higher level of the profitability. Okay, so this is the sources of the competitive advantage. Okay, so what is the distinctive competence? Okay, here, distinctive competence means a firm's specific strengths that allow the company to differentiate its products from these offers by their competitor. Over, this can help firms to achieve the low cost than their rivals. Okay, so here we have some examples. Okay, for example, the Logan. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, Logan may be because he has the distinctive competence in their R&D capabilities, right? And for the Apple, how about the Apple's distinctive competence? Okay, maybe the Apple is the distinctive competence is their design capability, their product design capability. So we can see that Apple's they have a very beautiful device, okay, and they also the user friendly, right? So the Apple has a distinctive competence in product design, and Toyota, another very famous companies, Toyota. Toyota has the distinctive competence in development and operation of manufacturing process. So they introduced the just-in-time systems, right? And then the other example we can see the Google. Okay, Google has the distinctive competence in their algorithm capabilities. So we can see here Logan, Apple, Toyota over the Google. They have their own distinctive competence. And this distinctive competence can help them achieve the competitive advantage. Okay, so maybe you can think about how about the Tesla? What are the distinct competencies for the Tesla? Okay, for example, maybe for the Tesla, you have the electronic vehicle technology. They have a battery back technology. Okay, good, tighter, cheaper than other EV batteries. And the other one maybe because it have the safety design, right? So maybe you can also to find the other firms layer distinct competence, for example, in Taiwan. How about the TSMC? Okay, and the other maybe you can see, like the Netflix, you can to find some data, to find what are the distinctive competence, of the TSMC and Netflix. Okay, so we can understand why they can achieve the higher competitive advantage and earned a lot of money. Okay. And then last we will talk about resources. Okay, what are resources? Resources means the factor of the production that a firm uses to transform input into output that it can sell in the marketplace. And for resources, as I mentioned earlier, resources can classify into the best factor of the production, and the other one is the advanced factor of production. So for the best factors is like labor, land, building, physical plant equipment. Okay, we call this is the best factors of the production. And the other one, advanced factor of the production, for example, like the process knowledge, organizational architecture, and intellectual property, IP. This we call it is the advanced factor of the production. Of course, these two factors, basic factors, advanced factors of production, Both of them are important for firms. However, we think advanced factors of the production is maybe played a more important role, for firms to achieve their competitive advantages. Okay. So now we will like to introduce the advanced factors of the production. Okay, because the advanced factors of the production play the more important role than the basic factor of production, for firms. Okay, so first, process knowledge. Okay, process knowledge is the knowledge of the internal rules, routines, and the procedure of an organization that managers can leverage to achieve organizational objectives. So we can see this the process, the knowledge is accumulated by the firm over the time and through experience. So the firms, they accumulate it, learned by doing and through try and error. And the process knowledge is often socially complex. This means that this knowledge is diffused among many different individual teams, departments, and functions within these firms. So process knowledge is hard to copy by their competitors. Okay, and for the organizational architectures. Okay, organizational architectures is the combination of the organizational structure, control system, incentive system, and culture and human capital strategies. And organizational architecture actually is important for firms. If the firms can get organizational architecture right, they can make the firm's operation more efficiency. Okay, so difference in the efficiency of organizational architecture are a major reason for performance differentials across the companies. So the firms have appropriate organizational architectures is very important. And finally, for the IP. IP means the knowledge, research, and the information this is owned by an individual over organizations. And the IP is take many firms, so such as the engineering blueprints, and preparatory the software codes, the logo, the brand logo, so like the Starbucks, is logo, or like the Apple, or Apple's is logo, patents, copyrights, and the trademarks, all of this is the IP, and the IP is also very important for firms, So the advanced factors of the production, include the process knowledges, organizational architectures, and IP. As we said, resources is important for the firms, right? However, here, how can we evaluate the quality of the firm's resources? So from here, we can see that, firm as the bundle of the resources. So we can see the list figures. Firms transfer the input, into the outputs, and the efficiency and the effectiveness with which a company performed the transformation process depends on the quality of his resources. Especially the quality of is the advanced factor of the production. So how can we evaluate the quality of the company's resources? This is problems, right? So next, we will introduce the VRIO framework. We can use this framework to evaluate the quality of the firm's resources. So VRIO means V means the value, R means the rarity, I means the inimitability, O means the organization. Okay. So how to evaluate the company resources? The managers can ask themselves for the 4 questions. Okay, these resources, are they valuable? Are they real? Are they inimitable? Okay, and finally, is the company organized in a way that enable it to exploit the resources and capture the value? If the manager's answer is yes, 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 okay, it means the quality of the resources is good. Okay. Okay, research quality, you always, for the resources, okay, you use the VRIO framework, okay, to evaluate the quality of resources. Okay, so their definition is, okay, resources are valuable when they enable the company to create a strong demand for its products, or can help the firms lower their cost. Real is the means if these resources are real. It means their competitors do not own the same resources, okay, as the firms. And the other one is the imitation. Okay, if they are difficult for competitor to imitate, that it is. Okay, we can have to think about the barrier to imitation. And finally is the organizational architectures. Okay, does the company's organizational architecture enable it to express its real valuable and inimitable resources and capture the value of what they produce? Okay, so I said that if each the questions, if the manager the answers is yes, their resources are valuable. Resources are real. Resources are hard for their competitors to copy. And the firm is also on the appropriate organizational architecture to leverage these resources. If yes, 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 okay, it means the firm's the quality of the resources is good. Okay, so for example, like the Apple. Okay, Apple is the resources, for example, the product design. Okay, product design, the capability available for the Apple. Yeah, yes, because they have the good product design capability, so they can create a strong demand. Okay, for example, like smartphones for the Apple, right? So product design capability, yes, are valuable. The second, are they real? Yes, because we can see in the smartphone industries, no other firms have the same product design capability like the Apple, right? So it's real. And the other one is the easy for their competitor to copy or not. Yeah, their product design capability, yeah, is not easy for their competitors to copy. So it's difficult for rivals to imitate. And of course, the Apple, they have the appropriate organizational architecture to leverage, okay, these resources. Okay, so we can have the conclusion that, yeah, Apple, okay, is have their quality of resources is good. Okay, so if we wanted to evaluate the resources the quality, we can use the VRIO framework to evaluate the resources the quality. Okay. Okay, and the next, resources and sustained competitive advantage. Here, which valuable resources are most likely to result in a long-term and sustainable competitive advantage? Okay, long-term the sustained competitive advantage result from the advanced factor of the production. Okay, in terms of the process knowledge, organizational architecture, and IP. So this is why I told that compared to the basic factor of the production and advanced factors of the production, advanced factors of the production play more important role than the physical, than the basic factors of the production, because we can understand that some of the basic factors of the productions, like the land or the equipment, from they can buy, right? So they can buy the land, buy the equipment. However, for the advanced factors of the production, like the process knowledge, organizational architecture, and the IP, this is hard for their competitor to learn. It's hard for their competitors to copy. So this is why the long-term sustainable competitive advantage result from the advanced factors of the production. Okay. So here, resources and sustained competitive advantage. Real resources. While the process knowledge, organizational architectures, and IP, they are real resources. This is because, for the process knowledge and the organizational architecture, they are real. This is because these two factors are past dependence through the company history. So we can say that no company, no firms have the same company history. So we can see this. So they are real. And for the IP is protected by the patent, copyright over the trademarks. So if the firms, if for example like their technologies are protected by the patents, this is the means other firms cannot use this technology. If they do not permission by the list firms, right? So under these situations, this technology we can see is as the real resources. Just the list firms, they can use only this technology, only use this technology and use this not the technology, and the other firms cannot if they do not permit by these firms. So we can see, IP is also a kind of real, And for the barriers to imitation, if a companies develop a real valuable resources, how easy will it be for the competitor to copy these resources? Of course, if these resources are real and valuable, and is also hard for their competitor to copy. This means they have a higher barriers to imitation. Under these situations, these resources can help firms to achieve the sustained competitive advantage. However, for the barriers to imitations, this means the ability for their competitive copy. It depends on some situations. For example, like the IP. Yeah, maybe it depends on the role of the nation. Yeah, because in some countries, okay, like the United States or the EU, because these countries, they have the well-established body of the IP role. So in these countries, okay, you own this IP, for example, like the patent, the competitor is hard to copy. Okay, these technologies. However, in some the emerging economy, in some emerging countries, yeah, because they do not have the well established body of the IP rules, right? So in some emerging countries, even you have the IP, even you have even like the patent or the trademark. However, in these industries, yeah, the competitors, okay, still can copy your technologies, right, and copy your logos. So for the IP, the ability for the competitor to copy for the IP, it depends on the role of the nation. Yeah, in the US or in the EU. Yeah, because it have the well-established body of the IP rules. So the competitors is difficult to copy your IP. However, in the emerging economies, okay, in the emerging countries, the competitors maybe it's more easy to copy your IP. Okay, and for the process the knowledge, yeah, it's very difficult for their competitor to copy. This is because it is the partly tactical and handling from the view and the social the companies. Yeah, so from the process, the knowledge, other firms and their competitors are not clearly understood how firm produce their products over the service. Organizational architecture is also hard for the competitor to copy. This is because if we wanted to copy the other firms, the organizational architectures, okay, the wholesale organizational change is very risky and cost. So the firms they have to spend a lot of the time and the resources. And the other reason is the difficult. This is because the existing internal inertia. Because the employees, okay, the firm, the employees or the managers, okay, do not want to change, right? Especially some people, okay, the opposition from the members whose the power and influence will be reduced. Okay, those are the people they do not want to change because this will influence their benefit, right? Yeah. So organizational architecture, if you wanted to change, is very difficult. Okay, so this is the ability for a rival to copy. And the implication for advanced factor of the production. Okay, first, IP. For the IP should be protected from the imitation. Yeah, so the firms maybe have to use the patent, copyright, and the trademark to protect their IP. However, sometimes it's the best not to patent the valuable technology, but instead keep it as a trade secret. Yeah, this is because the trade secret can make the imitation more difficult. Okay, so this is because when firms they wanted to file the patent, they have to write each step in the process in detail. So one day, if this patent, okay, expired, yeah, because it's really very detailed, right? So other competitors they can learn this knowledge and copy it. However, if the firms they use the trade secret, this is means maybe a few the people, maybe the 2 over the 3 the person, they understand this the knowledge and the information. Yeah, of course, this will make the imitation more difficult. So in the soda industries like the Coca-Cola, okay, we can say that Coca-Cola, they do not patent their recipe. Yeah, they use the trade secret. Yeah, so maybe just the few person know the list the information and the knowledge, they understand how to produce the cola, the cola. Okay, this is the product. Yeah, so this is kind of a trade the secret. So we can see how to produce the cola. Okay, is the difficult for the competitors to copy because it is the trade secret. Okay, and the next, for the process knowledge and the organizational architecture, okay, deserve the significant managerial attention in their optimization. So this the implications is that because these the 2 factors are important for firms. So the firms have to invest time and effort in the process improvement methodologies. Okay, so such as you can introduce the Six Sigma or over TQ1, something like that. Okay, and finally, real and valuable process knowledge in code functional activity should not be outsourced. Okay, this is the very important. Now, if you outsource this the code functional activity to the other firms, for example, you outsource your R&D, product design, or the marketing to the third party, yeah, it will be unwise. This is because, okay, if you outsource this the core activity to a third party producer, yes, maybe in the short terms, this can help you to have the lower your cost. Okay, to lower your cost. However, for long time, okay, it's not good for you. Maybe in the future, you will create a new competitor by yourself. Yeah, because you outsourced this activity to the third-party producer. So the producer, okay, they can learn this knowledge from you, right? So it will be unwise for the firm to outsource this core activity to the third-party producer in pursuit of a perceived short-term cost saving over other transitory benefit. Yeah, in the short term, you can get some benefit. However, for the long term, it's not good for you. Yeah, as I said, maybe you will create a new competitor by yourself. Okay, so this is the implication for advanced factor of production. So next we will talk about the value chain. Okay, value chain means, okay, a company is a chain of activity that transformed input into outputs. Okay, so from this figure, we can see that the transformation process involved 2 activities. Okay, one we call it is the primary activities, and the other we call it is the support activities. So primary activities, okay, we can see this below here. Okay, here below. The primary activities, okay, including R&D, production, marketing and sales, customer service. Okay, we call it is the primary activities. And up here, okay, like the company infrastructure. Company infrastructure is some like the organizational architectures. Yeah, because it include the organizational systems and the control systems and the culture. Okay, so support activities including organizational, infrastructure, IT, information systems, materials management, and human resources. Okay, we call this the support activities. And the support activities, this activity provide the input that allow the primary activity to take place. So we can see, for example, like the IT systems. IT, the information systems, R&D, the management, R&D, research and development, you need the IT system support, right? For the production, you also need the IT systems, marketing and customer service. Yeah, you can also need the information systems. And for the human resources, of course, the R&D, production, marketing, and customer service, all of these primary activities, they need the human resources to support. So we can say that organizational infrastructure, information systems, materials management, human resource management, we call these activities as the support activities. And for the R&D, research and development, production, marketing and sales, and customer service, we call this as the primary activities. And then next, we will discuss how to list the activities add value to the products. For example, like the first is the research and development. R&D, it refers to the design of the products and the production process. Of course, the R&D can increase the functionality of the products, right? They can design the new products, improve the function of these products. So, for example, like the earphones. Before we use the wired earphones. However, now we use the wireless earphones. This is because the R&D, right, redesigned these products. And the wireless earphones, you have the good performance. And while wireless earphones is the convenience. It's convenience for us to use, right, and easy for us to use. So this is the R&D, first for the products, the innovation. And the next, of course, the R&D may result in more efficient production process. So this can help firms lower the production cost. So this is why research and development, can add value to the product. And the next, for the production, production means the creation or process of a good or the service. So here, by performing this activity efficiently, the production, the function of the company can help us, can help firms to lower the cost structures. So the production function can also perform its activity in a way that is consistent with the higher product quality, which leads to the differentiation and the low cost. So the production, here can help firms to lower its cost structures. And for the marketing and sales, how the marketing and the sales add value to the products. For the marketing and the sales, it can increase the value that customer perceive to be contained in a company's products by brand positioning and advertising. So maybe you can see for all the products, maybe the some of the people Okay, when they for example, when they drive the Benz. Okay, Benz the car. Okay, for the Benz over the Volvo. Okay, over the female. Okay, they take the LOV. Okay, the back. Maybe they will. Okay, they feel in the higher society the standards. Okay, over seems this if you own the products or own the car, maybe you will feel that okay, it means that you have a good taste. Okay, so this can increase the value for the customers, right? So marketing and the sales, they can increase the value their customer perceive to be contained in the company's products by brand positioning and advertising. Right. And for the marketing and the sales can also create value by discovering the customer needs and communicating them back to the R&D the function of the company. Yeah, because the marketing and the sales, they collect some market information. They understand what is the customer really they want. What are their needs. So they can pass the information to the R&D the function of the companies. And the R&D, they can design the products that better match the needs, okay, of the customers. Okay. And for the customer service is means to provide after sales service and support. So customer service can create the superior utility by, for example, solving the customer problems and supporting customer after they have purchased the products. So for example, when we to buy the notebook, for example, ASUS the notebook, I think the ASUS provide the good after sales service and support for their products, okay, for their notebook. So ASUS have the Real Club, right? Yeah, you can this Real Club is the good after sales service support. So if your notebook is broken, you can take it to the Royal Club, and they can help you to fix your notebook. Okay, so this is the kind of example of the customer service. Okay. And for the supported activity, okay, in terms of the material management, or sometimes we call it the logistics. Okay. Material management, okay, it controls the transmission of the physical materials through the value chain from the procurement through the production and into the distribution. Okay, so we can see this is a very long process, right? However, if the firms can have the good materials management, this can help firms to lower their cost structures and help firms to create more profit. And for the human resources management, okay, it ensures that the firms have the right combination of the skilled people to perform the value chain activity effectively. So for the human resources, it means find the right person, okay, and put them into the right place, right? And for the human resources, okay, it also ensures that people are well trained, motivated, and compensated to perform their value chain activities. Okay, their value chain activities. So this is for the human resources. And for the IT systems over the digital technologies, okay, how IT systems over the digital technology add value to the products. Okay, Actually, okay, this the IT systems, okay, the digital technology, they help the company a lot, right? Because they can help firms to manage their inventory, right? And checking the sales, pricing products, selling products, deal with the customer service the required, right? And so on. So actually the IP the systems over some the digital technologies help firm a lot. So the IT systems improve efficiency and the effectiveness of the company's value creation activities. So for example, like Zara. Now Zara have the good IT systems, right? So Zara can use this system quickly respond to changing fashion trends. And layer is the design in close contact with the store and can respond to the changing trends very quickly, right? And for the last one is the company infrastructures. Okay, company infrastructures include the organizational structures, control system, incentive systems, and the company's cultures. So we can understand the performance of all other value chain, the performance of all other value creation activities like take place within, okay, the firms, the companies, the infrastructures. So how the firms, how to build appropriate the infrastructures is very important, okay. So this is for the value chain. And the next, okay, we will talk about the 4 factors that help firms to build and sustain a competitive advantage. Yeah, so we can see, okay, we can see this the finger. The 4 factors, okay, they are superior quality, superior efficiency, superior innovation, and superior customer responsiveness. These 4 factors can help firms to achieve the low cost over the depreciation. Okay, so we can see that each factor, okay, each of the factors, quality, efficiency, innovation, and customer responsiveness, each factor is the result of the way that various value chain activity within a firms are performed. Okay, efficiency. What is the efficiency? Efficiency, okay, we can see is equal to the output, okay, divided by input. So the more efficient a company is, the fewer input are required to produce the particular output. So the firm can lower its cost structure. And for the efficiency, okay, we often use the employee productivities and the capital productivities, okay, to measure the efficiency. Okay, so for example, employee productivity, okay, employee productivity means the output produced per employees. Okay, so we can see, okay, the example. Okay, if it take the GM 30 hours of employee time to assemble a car. However, it just take the Ford, okay, 25 hours of the employee time to assemble a car. Okay, in this the case, of course, we told that the Ford have the higher the employee productivities than GMs. Okay, and the capital productivities, okay, it means the output produced by $1 of the capital invested in the business. So for example, okay, like a GM it used the $1 okay, it invested $1. However, it can produce, for example, the 10 outputs. And the other firms like the Ford, okay, invest $1. However, it can produce the 20 outputs. Okay, because in these situations, the Ford have the higher capital productivity than GM. Okay, so this is the efficiency. Okay, next is the quality as excellence and the reliability. Okay, you can think about this. When we say this the products, we say, oh, this the products have the higher quality. What do you mean? Okay, this is maybe it means that a product is said to have the superior quality. When customer perceive its attribute provide them with the higher utility than the attribute of products sold by their competitors. Okay, and here the attribute. Okay, there are many types of attribute. For example, like the form, feature, and performance, durability, reliability, style, and design. Okay, this is the product attribute. Okay, this is the product's attribute here. So, for example, like the watch, the Rolex watch. We always say that, oh, the Rolex watch have the higher quality. And this is because Rolex, okay, is a watch. It have the good design. Yeah, have the good performance. Yeah, and we can use it for a long time, right? Durability, reliability. Okay, its style is also very good. So we call this, okay, Rolex, okay, have this watch have the higher quality. Okay, so when the customers evaluate the quality of a product, they measure it against two kinds of attributes in terms of the excellence and the reliability. So excellence means the important attributes are a product's design and styling. It's the features and the functions and the level of the service associated with the delivery of the products. So here, the other example is okay, our courses. Okay, where do you buy your courses? Yeah, maybe some people buy the courses from the night market, and maybe some people buy the courses from the department store, right? However, when we compare, okay, usually, okay, let's say usually or often, if we buy the courses from the department store, maybe you will feel that these courses, okay, have the good design. Yeah, good design. And when we wear these courses, we will feel that is the more comfortable, yeah, than the clothes buy from the night market. Yeah, so here we can say that, okay, the clothes buy from the department store, yeah, maybe it's excellent. Then you buy the clothes from the night market. So in other words, maybe the clothes buy from the department store have the good qualities. Yeah, or have the greater qualities than the clothes buy from the night market. Okay. And reliability means a product consistently performed the function it was designed for and rarely breaks down. Yeah, so for reliability, maybe the example is the iPhone. So we can see if you use the iPhone can be used for a long time, right? And you also can find it, okay? During this time period, maybe the iPhone is consistently performed. Yeah, so that function was designed for, and you can also find that the iPhone is rarely the iPhone rarely breaks down. So maybe we can see that the iPhone, okay, have the good reliabilities. Of course, the iPhone, okay, it also designed very good and have the good performance. So actually, the iPhone have the excellence and the reliabilities. So when we talk about the Apple's the products in terms of the iPhone, I would think that okay, it have very good qualities, right? Okay, and the impact of the high product quality on competitive advantage is twofold. Okay, one is the higher quality of products. Okay, increase the value the products provided to the customers, right? And the second, the higher the products, the qualities, okay, they have the greater efficiency and lower the unit cost associated with reliable products of the higher quality impact competitive advantages. Okay, so in other words, this means the products, the quality, higher product, the quality can increase the customer value. Okay, can increase the customer value and then help firms to earn the higher the profit. And on the other hand, higher products, the quality can help firms to have the greater efficiency and help them to lower the cost the structures. So this is why the higher the product, the impact of the higher product quality on competitive advantage is twofold. And for the innovation, here innovation refers to the act of creating new products over the process. And for the innovation, there are two types of the innovation in terms of the product innovation and the process innovation. Product innovation means development of the products that are new to the world or have superior attribute to existing products. Okay, let's take Apple, okay, as an example. So we can see the iPod. iPod substitute for the Walkman. I think maybe you never see the Walkman. Okay, so because Walkman, however, the Apple, okay, they introduced their new products, iPod. We can use the iPod and use the MP3. Okay, this MP3 from and the iPod also very small, so it's the convenience, right? So it's new to the world. And the other example is like the iPhone. Yeah, iPhone is the use the touch. Okay, touch the screen. Yeah, it do not use the physical the keyboard. So it's also new to the world. So for the iPod or the iPhone, it's kind of the product innovation. Okay, and for the process innovation, it means the firm development of a new process for producing the products and delivering them to the customers. So for example, like the Toyota. Toyota introduced just-in-time inventory the systems. Yeah, and this the systems help the Toyota to lower their cost structures. Yeah, and help the Toyota to earn the higher the profit. Okay, so for the innovation, okay, two types of innovation in terms of the product innovation and the process innovation. And for the customer responsiveness, okay, companies have to do a better job than their competitors of identifying and satisfying the customer needs. When we talk about the customer responsiveness, okay, we will talk about customer that is good and service, and the other is the customer response times. Okay, so First, for the customer, customize the goods and service to the unique demand of the individual customers over the customers the group. Okay, so in other words, is the customization. Yeah, if you can meet the customers' the specific needs, yeah, of course you have the good customer responsiveness, right? And the other is the customer response time. It means the time that it takes for good to be delivered over a service to be performed. Okay, so for the customer response time, for example, like in the bank industry, okay, for the bank, maybe it means it is the time it takes to process a loan. Yeah, if the time taken to the process along the shoulder, yeah, this is means okay, you have the good the customer responsibility because you have the shoulder the customer response time, right? And the other maybe example like in the supermarket, yeah, industry. For the supermarket, okay, customer response time maybe is the time that a customer must stand in checkout lines. Yeah, so we can see in many the supermarket, okay, like the Carrefour, 家乐福, or like the RT Mart, or over the Pizza Mart, we can see that many the supermarket now in Taiwan, they introduced self-service checkout machine, right? And this can help the customer, okay, to reduce their checkout times, right? So this can show them the customer response times. Okay, so this is the 4 factor. Okay, 4 factors. Okay, let me remind you. Okay, the 4 factors that help firms to build their sustained competitive advantage. Okay, one is the efficiency, right? And the second is the quality, and the third is the innovation, and the fourth is the customer responsiveness. Okay, so this is today the content. Okay, thank you for your listening.